Y Combinator is the world's most prestigious startup accelerator. With an acceptance rate lower than the top Ivy League universities, YC gives founders instant access to $500,000 in funding, hundreds of thousands of dollars in software credits, and a network of the world's best investors. This is Inside the Batch, where I, a YC founder, talk with other YC founders about how they got in, what they built, and what it really takes to make it. Today I'm joined with the co-founder of Koyal. Thanks for coming on, Mehul.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. Could you just give us the 2-sentence description for your company?
So Koyal is an agentic filmmaking platform that takes your scripts or your audio and converts them into films. We've worked with a lot of people, including Universal, T-Series, and a lot of edutainment companies. I think we have around 10 million in views across the internet, and just making sure that we prove that you don't need a camera to shoot a film.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by turning audio into like AI video? So are we saying things like this, like a podcast? Are you writing like a script? What types of mediums of audio would be, turned into AI video?
Yeah, so when I say audio, it's almost every single piece of video content that goes up requires some amount of audio, right? Now that audio can be AI generated or it can be like your live humans. But what we're kind of following is like the Pixar style of filmmaking. So the way Pixar makes a movie is that you start with a script like every other movie, but then you go to a Tom Hanks and you ask Tom Hanks to record his lines, right? And then once you get that voiceover, you spend months on it to try and make the best video to fit that voiceover. And that's the final animated movie that comes out. Now with AI, that process shifts a little bit where you can also do live action, right? So it's not like you already have the performances at hand, and then you're molding the video to fit it the best. And that kind of makes everything just that much more realer or effervescent in a way.
So how much like creative direction is required to use your platform and to instruct it to generate AI video? So let's say we take something like this, like a podcast, and I want to go onto Koyo and I want to generate an AI video from it. What would that kind of end-to-end user flow and process be like? And what are the current limitations and capabilities of your platform? Like in terms of like the time length, for example, because I would imagine with most AI video generation platforms, we're not talking like 2-hour long feature films yet. Just the models aren't there yet. So what are your kind of the current constraints and abilities of your current platform?
Yeah, so we're built on all the top like open source as well as closed source models. So we're like a wrapper around like 20 other companies in a way. So we can go up to 15 minutes on a
Wow.
single take. So you can, in a single recording, you can upload a 15-minute audio clip and that works. Uh, in terms of how to use the platform, it's super simple. All you need is your audio or your script, and you just upload that and the AI is there to help you through the process. Some people who are running very short on time can just keep pressing next, but a lot of people like to take part in the creation process. So like based on the audio that you have, you can create your characters, right? The AI suggests something, but I can change it up. In fact, Sean, you can create a video featuring you, which is like one of the biggest like PowerPoints that we have, is that we have the highest character consistency in AI video. We use a lot of different models to achieve that. And you basically can cast yourself, you can craft that story to your liking. And then once you have that, you can go look at a storyboard of every scene that you want to generate and then tweak that to your heart's content. Think of it like your Koyal is basically your personal film director. I can go in, I can cast my characters, I can talk to them about their performances, I can talk to my director of photography, and I can talk to my, I can change my camera angles, everything. So it's almost like I'm taking this, usually something that was reserved for a Tarantino or Spielberg, and giving it to any person.
Now this sounds pretty impressive, but I'd imagine the model cost could get quite high here. You said the limit is 15 minutes. Most of these video generation models for a single clip, we're looking at like 8 seconds. How does how does your pricing work? Maybe you can't tell me everything about it, but roughly, I would imagine this could get pretty expensive to run.
Yeah, so like if you were to just compare it to a traditional video company, perhaps, right? Like if you compare it to a like AI video company, it is probably slightly more expensive because you are triggering so many different models at once. But if you compare it to the traditional video filming process, right? If I were to take a script or a voiceover in real life and go to an uh, ad film director or go to like a firm, like this is almost 1/100th the cost in that way. To like give you an example, just and it's only a fraction above like what in an underlying foundation model costs. So like to give you an example, the standard mode on ours costs around like $0.5 per second, or and then the pro version costs $0.9 per second. So that's around $50 for a 1 minute movie in a way. And you can imagine like ad spots that go on like Super Bowl for 1 minute, how much they cost to do, right? So it's all about kind of making that experience more universal. And not only are you making it cheaper, but the way AI video is going right now, you can also make it better than what you would shoot in real life.
Interesting. So it sounds like kind of like one of your angles of this is you want to have more granular control over the entire like creation process, because I think one of the problems for a lot of people when using AI video generation tools is they can make really really great videos, but a lot of times most what happens is people end up spending a lot of time regenerating prompts because it's not having the right character consistency, you're not having the right actions taken. But essentially kind of what you guys are focusing on a little more is being able to make it so you have this granular control of the whole creation process, kind of like a director, so that when you have this final product, it is a much higher quality than what a traditional just AI video model would have. And then when you compare it to something like filming that in real life, because you're, as you said, you're able to have like a higher level of quality, you're able to make the cost significantly lower than what it would be doing it in person.
No, that's you kind of nailed it on the head. Basically, I think the biggest challenge I'm seeing with a lot of real life filmmakers or amateur filmmakers and musicians, any kind of ICP that we're going for, right, is that when they use AI video models, they don't want to learn prompt engineering. Like they're not coders. Like if I'm gonna go on a Veo and like give it a JSON prompt, like as a filmmaker, think about that for a second. Like, why should I know what JSON is in a way, right? Like, it is, you're kind of, they're learning some certain things that they shouldn't need to learn if they need to create something. So that's why we have an agentic way that takes care of all the prompting behind the scenes. So like we do all the prompt engineering, we do all the heavy work. And to the user, it's a very simple process of, hey, I have two actors on set that are acting a certain way. I'm just going to direct them a little bit. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Mehul is waving at Sean, right? Like, why do I need to give 10 parameters in a video model to just do that? So that's I think the biggest thing that we offer.
That makes sense. I've done a lot of experimentation with like various video models, and that is, I think, one of the most frustrating things is being able to get those granular changes down. And it seems annoying that I have to look up a bunch of different guides of exactly how you're supposed to prompt it. No, you need this JSON prompt of this person at this exact timestamp comes in and moves this fast. It seems silly when you're trying to create something, especially with like AI. That's kind of the point, is that you don't have to get
Yeah.
that specific.
Not only is it silly, the fact that I have to do that for each and every scene of mine
Yeah.
is insane. Like, imagine if I was creating a 15-minute video. On an average, in a regular video, you have for like each minute, you have around like 18 scenes. Like that's like I'm not picking this out of thin air. We did our research, but like 18 scenes per minute, let's say 15 minutes of video. Are you going to go JSON prompt each and everything till it's perfect and then keep building on that? That's what happens traditionally today with anyone trying to do AI filmmaking, which is why like it it takes longer. You end up spending almost the same amount if you were to shoot it in real life for amateur productions. So it just doesn't seem reasonable to turn to AI then.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think everyone always focuses on the exact like cost per video generated, but that's not really the most important cost. Because if it takes me 10 attempts, 20 attempts, 30 attempts to get the right video, even if my cost per video generated is cheap, but if I'm spending all this money re-engineering the prompt and regenerating these videos, it would have been much, much cheaper for me to have a more expensive, let's say, first shot video generation succeed
Yeah.
because now I don't have to waste my time. I don't have to waste my money regenerating all of these.
No, I can tell you something like and this is like a month old now, but someone literally came up to me after trying out other products, and he was like, "Hey, I spent $1,000 on VO trying to make this 1 minute clip, and like with you, I did it in one shot." So like that fills me with confidence, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, like yes, it doesn't matter if these underlying models are slightly cheap, and by the way, they're only cheap because they're heavily subsidizing them, but the fact that you don't get what you want and you can't change that by unless you just literally press regenerate and then hope for the best, that is the annoying part here.
No, that totally makes sense. I'm also curious, like, what gave you this idea to work on? How did you guys get inspired to work on this idea?
Yeah, so I have two responses for you here. One I think is like a more serious answer, and I'll also give the funny answer. But the serious answer is my previous startup that I was doing. I studied at Carnegie Mellon. I did my undergrad. I did my master's there in machine learning. When I was in my undergrad, my first startup was in text to 3D generation. So this is right around the time, DALI 2 and all these first text to image models came around. I was still like, okay, how do we take this a step beyond? And to me, that was 3D at the time. Uh, did that. We were primarily targeting the video game industry. And then I quickly realized, we talked to everyone basically, but I quickly realized there's a reason why GTA 6 keeps getting delayed. It's a very, very tough industry to work in. They have their own set of deadlines. That is why game developers like have the worst work-life balance. It's just like a very shitty industry to work for, to work with. Love the people that I met, but yeah, I quickly realized that was not for me. And that was the first time I got introduced to this. So my co-founder is my sister, and so she, at the meantime, she also studied from CMU. She worked at Meta at Instagram Video, and then we both entered our masters around the same time, and we were both in this video generation kind of thing, and we were like, okay, we should probably write something that we can both put in our thesis. So that's how we started working together. And she was working on video generation. I was also working on like text to X generation in multimodal manner. And then we were like, if we were to go like first principle, right? How will people actually interact with this technology? Let's say text to image gets solved, and it still isn't. Like every month there's a new flavor, right? Like 3 months ago it was the giblification of everything. Then a month ago it was the nano banana of everything, right? So it keeps changing. The flavor of the month keeps changing. But let's say it becomes solved end to end, right? And that can happen in like 3 months from now. That can happen 15 months from now. But how will people actually interact with this technology? Most people don't like to text, right? Like that is why this is not a text between us. It's an audio podcast. Most people actually start with ideation in audio, right? You can say people like to script out things as well, but they don't like to just text into something. And most people don't see the world in still images. They see it in video. So that's when we went to first principle, we were like, okay, something like an audio to video makes sense. And that's when we started building audio to video. First, we started out with music, and then we quickly realized music can be any audio. And now we're realizing after getting to YC that audio can be any script. So we're just kind of expanding our scope and broadening our horizons. That's like my serious answer. My funny answer is I actually like did a lot of stand-up comedy in college. So when I was in Pittsburgh, like uh, as you know, like going to a good university is like kind of interesting because a university like CMU, everyone is a nerd, right? So like a lot of us when we first came to university, our basic like personality trait was, hey, I'm probably the smartest in my class, or I just have a very weird, nerdy way of thinking about things. But then if everyone in your class is like that, then you're like, okay, what am I doing, right? So for me, I was like, okay, I need to find a personality out of outside computer science. So I started doing stand-up comedy. And then I had the bright thought of, what if we created a show like Silicon Valley, but featuring a Indian kid who came to the US for the first time and is in Pittsburgh. Uh, and I started writing a script for that and everything. And I quickly realized, hey, no one's gonna, in their right mind, gonna pay me money to make this. So what if I created the technology that I could just convert my stand-up into actual short films? That's sort of my funny way of getting into this. So that was like at the back of my head. Didn't tell my sister until we got to the stage with the technology, and she's like, "Oh shit, now I get it."
I love that answer. Could you tell me a little bit about like what inspired you to apply to YC and like what your interview process was like and what that feeling was of getting into YC and how your acceptance was?
Yeah, dude, getting into YC for us was actually like a very, very, very long process. I wish it was way faster. I think I first heard about YC like early in my college days. Actually, maybe end of high school. I think first, like inspiration for getting into tech very, very heavily. Like I knew I wanted to so I wanted to be a tech founder like very early on, like when I was in like kindergarten or something. But like when I first got serious about it was when I saw Silicon Valley, and I was like, oh, I know they're parodying this, but this sounds like a sick life. Except all the stress. They didn't show that. And then I was like, okay, like TechCrunch Disrupt was the first thing that I heard. And then just working along, I was like, okay, Y Combinator is that thing that like you need to get to like basically enter this world for the first time. So for the longest time, wanted to in college get into YC, but my Indian parents wouldn't let you drop out. So uh, like I kept like applying. I applied once, I think, in college, but like I knew even if I would get in, like they wouldn't allow me to drop out. So that was like an okay thing. And then as soon as I graduated, I was like, okay, I started working for a startup here in like I think Palo Alto, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply. And I'm just gonna keep working at the startup and then kill myself till I get into YC, and that's gonna be my sort of state. So first time we published our new reps with our paper here. I applied then, and then we had zero product. We just had our findings from the paper, and I made a very very shitty prototype, and I applied. Um, didn't get in. We had an interview and everything. They were like, "Hey, we just want to see the product. Like, this is not a product, but we love the team." And I think what I also made a rap, which went along the lines of, "I'm looking for some pre-seed, uh, and not from an Ivy, and YC, please take a chance on me." And I was just like begging them almost to wait. And I'm very surprised they even gave us an interview after looking at that. Did that, I was like, okay, cool. Like I got an interview. Let's see how we improve upon this. So applied with a very, very improved product, like I think the next batch. I think we should have gotten in. I like there was like sometimes you write an application and you're like this is like perfect. Like a friend of mine was at YC. I came to a dinner with him when you're allowed to bring a guest in. I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I need to get in. Like, there's no way. Like, I talked to every single partner there. Turns out they're not the partners who actually review the application for the coming batch. I was like, ah, shit. But interviewed, had a great experience interviewing. I this is slightly controversial to say, but I think they missed out at that opportunity. We could have easily gotten in then. But in a way, I think because I so wanted it to happen, it made perfect sense for it to happen that it did not happen. Right? Like that want was really in me. Uh After that didn't happen, like I was as probably every founder kind of goes through this thing when you want something you don't get it. You're like, yeah, they missed out. Like I like I in fact like I was on the fuck YC train for a second where you like Sean, you know these people, right? Like
Yes,
they're like,
yes. I There's a lot
oh,
of people that go on. They they're very, "Oh, YC, overrated,
oh
don't
yeah,
need it." And
overrated
a
as
lot of
fuck.
it is just like, they didn't get in and now they're hating from
Like,
outside.
I was fully on that train. I was like leading it amongst my friends. I was like, yeah, they don't like, they're taking any kind of startup nowadays and they're like missing out on like actual real gems like mine. So I was on that train for a while. I was like, I don't need YC. Then I tried fundraising in real life and I was like, okay, YC does help. But anyway, like we were getting some term sheets, not the best ones, but we were getting them, and I was like, okay, I don't need a YC for this to succeed. So I actually after my interview the second time and I didn't get in, I still quit my job. And I was like, you know what? Like, I really want to pursue this. It doesn't matter if I have a YC or not. This is something I'm really passionate about. And then I got my sister to also quit her PhD to join me full time. And like, our parents weren't happy about that, but we were both very in on this. And we were just going to do it regardless. And so we started doing that. The moment we stopped focusing on getting into YC, stop talking to investors, and just building the product, that's when we got most of our traction. Like we worked with the T Series, we worked with Universal. T Series is, by the way, the biggest YouTube channel in the world. We worked with Universal. We worked with a lot of edutainment companies in India. I think now we've covered basically all of edutainment in India. Once we actually stopped giving a shit about investors and accelerators and everything and started actually focusing on the product is when we made the most progress. And then it became a choice whether, hey, like, should we apply to YC again? And while I was on the YC hate train, I talked to one of my friends, Roop Paul, amazing person. They're doing incredible stuff. I talked to him, and he is I think now being here, I can make a little bit fun of him as well. He is very YC pilled. You know, the kind of founder that like memorizes Paul Graham's essays. Uh,
Yes.
like you once you're in, you understand the archetypes of artists around you. But like love the dude, but like I met him before YC. He was so much happier, but post YC he just kept quoting Paul Graham, and he was like, "Dude, listen, just apply. Like, I know you think you don't need it, and you probably don't, but it's just going to be so much more helpful to do it." And he literally went, I will write your essay, I will write your application for you. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. Like, and so we applied. I think, like, we applied actually post the deadline. We applied like Monday post the deadline. Got an interview call. Um, I think 2 days later, in person. Did the interview. It was 7 minutes, not 10 minutes.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and then at the end of it, Nicola called us the next day and he was like, "Do you want to get in?" And like it was the fastest thing ever. And to think like 6 7 months before that, I was creating a fake rap about trying to get into IC. Like the moment I stopped trying to get in is when I instantly got in.
That's such an amazing story. I feel like there's so many people that have such a bad perception of like what it is to get into YC and like how to get in, and everyone thinks they want to game their way in, and it's so different than traditional fundraising and what most people are used to in like a job application or anything of that sort. There's no way to like game your way in or try to make yourself see like, don't try to bullshit the YC partners. I think so many people want to make their product seem further along and use cool buzzwords and make their product seem like, oh, this is in, we're going to revolutionize this industry. And it's, when you do that, they can tell you don't know what you're talking about. And when you're actually like working on the product and making traction, it's really, really obvious to them. And they can tell immediately, which is why the interviews are so short, why they're
Yes.
10 minutes long.
Right. It's wild to me. Like, and like I have a very weird experience. A lot of people keep applying to YC with different ideas. I was just like, hey, I'm not gonna pivot. Like, I'm 100% sure that there is something here. And like, if you don't see it, then I would show it to you. Like, in fact, like, love Dave. I think we were interviewing with Dave, and he was like, "Guys, I don't know if I see the market that you're trying to reach." And I literally went up to during the interview, I was like, "Dave, like, trust me, there exists a market here. You will see it once we do it." And then I met him again, like in the batch, and he was like, "You showed me," and I was like, "That felt great." Like that, like to me, I was like, "Okay." Like say whatever about pedigree, obviously us being from great universities helps, like every other application. Obviously having an idea in like the buzzwordy space helps. I'll be lying to say if like, hey, if we were not doing AI video and we were doing something slightly more boring, we would have less attention, less traction. But the biggest thing, like you said, Sean, is traction. Like nothing can beat that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So many companies apply and they've applied so many times, like 6 times, 8 times or more, and they apply with no traction and they keep wondering like, "Wow, my idea is really good, and why am I not getting in?" And it's
Yeah.
like, "Well, you've applied 6 times over the course of let's say 2 years. You've done no effort to make this idea work,
Yep.
and you keep pivoting ideas each application." Like, you can see why they don't really have conviction in you because you haven't done anything in any of these ideas. Maybe if you were to make some progress on one of these, like I think so many people obsess with the idea of the application. And like, yes, that is absolutely important, but it's more important, like the idea for a lot of companies, they will pivot. So many companies in the batch, so many companies after the batch will pivot. But what's so important is that like you as founders that they trust because you can apply with a really shitty idea, but if they think you're like S tier founders, they'll let you in.
Yep.
So the thing is you have to show them that you're S tier founders.
Yeah, and like for like there are very different, like there are different ways of showing them their SEO founders. Cause like like it's great. Like you might think you're amazing and the shit, like, but like they don't know you, right? Like when I first applied, I was like, what do you mean you're not taking me? And I know that I have nothing of an idea, but like you can look in my face, I made you a rap song, right? Like, but that's the thing. Like they don't know that you will do whatever it takes. So then show them you'll do whatever it takes. Maybe to some businesses that is completely pivoting out of your idea because you realize that key insight that hey, this doesn't work because why, right? Maybe sometimes it is, hey, like I know that there is something here, I will keep working on it and I will show you what I see here, because they're not like experts in that particular field either. They're like, that YC is like very universal in the kind of companies they accept. So like I think that's the biggest thing. I read something somewhere. They're like, as you just become more experienced and you rise above in life, the amount of lines in your introduction keep reducing. Right? Like, for example, like if I were to introduce Sam Altman, I would just say Sam Altman, right?
Yeah.
I bet like when first Sam Altman was coming out with the first product, he was like, "Hey, Sam Altman, I went to X college, I did this, I got into Y Combinator, I did this." And to me, I think of that as like very like that's my ideal. Like when we first started out, our our pitch was like, hey, we are an audio to video platform that has state of the art in character consistency, blah 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 blah, blah this that. We're a team from MIT, Meta, Carnegie Mellon. We do XYZ. We worked. And now, like, and YC is very responsible for that. Now they're like, dude, just say you're an agentic AI filmmaking platform. Like, that's it. Like, just talk about this, talk about talk about your views, talk about the clients you're working with. That's more than enough. And that I think is really important. Like, as you keep going, the conviction is only built with traction and experience. It just showcases more. So every time I apply to YC, you mentioned this, like the everyone focuses on the application. My application reduced. Like my first application was like everything. It was so wordy. Like I was like, hey, I'm writing a common app essay here that needs to be perfect, that I needs to like just say everything. And then every single time I applied after that, I just cut it in half. Like like if we didn't get in, I don't know if I would have applied again if I'm being honest with you. But the next time would have been, are you entertained? Like, just like, here's my website. Are you entertained?
No, it's such an important skill to be able to like communicate concisely. I think what one in like YC like they're reviewing like well over 10,000 applications, but Also, for you in like sales, when you're trying to get someone's attention that's getting bombarded with cold emails, if you list this 3 paragraph long email about what you guys do and all of your features, no one's going to look at it. You write a 2 sentence description of like, this is exactly how I'm going to solve your biggest problem.
Right.
Then you get people's attention and then you're able to sell well. So it's also like tells into your skills as like a founder.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, what was your experience like with YC? How is that for you?
I mean, our application was very different. Like for me, when applying, so I wasn't someone like I went to UC Berkeley. I did computer science, but I wasn't like the typical Berkeley CS person in that like I was not like, oh my God, I have to do a startup and applying to like YC. Like I didn't apply to YC when I was in college. I applied to YC like 2 years after graduating, and it wasn't even my idea, it was one of my co-founders' ideas, and he had said, "Hey, let's apply," and I was like, "Okay," and I didn't know as much about YC as a lot of the tech people do, and for me, I also held it on this pedestal where I was like, "I'm filling out the application for fun, this is just a fun exercise, I'm not getting an interview, I'm not getting in." I thought it was like I had a different perception of what it was like to get in, that I thought you had to be like a team of 3 PhDs or something, and like, "Oh, I have like 6 years of experience at FANG," or something. And so when I got the interview, I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." And then, like, our interview didn't go I didn't like, it seemed easier than I was expecting. Like, I was expecting the
Oh, it's
partner to be
always seems
like,
easier. Like the more it felt difficult when you don't have the answers, basically.
yes, yes, and it's like, I always expected the partner to be like, "No, screw you, this is why you're wrong," or something, but they're actually, like, very nice in the interview,
Yeah.
and which is why I think a lot of people, like, they leave the interviews going like, "Oh, wow, it went great," and then they're like, "What? I didn't get in, but our interview went so well," because it's like, they're not trying to be like a dick to you and just say like, "Screw you, your company sucks," but and then basically, like, the partner's feedback was the initial idea we applied on was like totally different. It was kind of like, no, you're right. This idea, like, it's not a bad idea, but like it's gonna take way too long to execute. But like I really like you guys. So come up with like see if you have any other ideas. And then we gave him another idea. And then he really liked it
On the
basically.
call, you gave another idea?
It was like we sent him like a follow-up email, and then it was like a while before we heard back.
Yeah.
And but then he really liked he liked some of the other ideas. So and then getting it was funny though because like our process of getting accepted, like basically we had like another interview, okay, and I like I was waiting that night. Like the second interview didn't even go as well, okay, and like this what happened was I was waiting all night for the call, and the call never came. The email never came. I was like, what the hell? Like it was like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., nothing there. And so I go to sleep thinking like, okay, I'm gonna wake up in the morning with a rejection email. It's fine. I
Yeah.
wake up, no email, and I'm going,
Oh,
what the
wow.
hell is going on? Because
Yeah.
they like always tell you the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that night, I get a text, and for some reason, I don't know why, I thought it was like a friend of mine screwing with me. Like, even though the text said like it was the YC partner that interviewed us, but I thought it was like a friend screwing with me because I'm like, everyone I knew like knew I was like waiting for this call.
Right, right, right.
And like the area code of the number seemed like off for like where I would expect it. So
Yeah.
I was just thinking like this is someone screwing with me. But no, it was the YC partner. He called me and he was like, his first question was like, "Hey, so like, do your co-founders want to do this?" And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, obviously, yes. And he's like, because like I texted them, like I texted one of them last night and he didn't get back to me. And I've never had
Oh,
someone not get
wow.
back to me. I was like, "What the hell?" And so we go I was like, "Okay," I'm like, "I will figure this out later, but, like, I promise you, I assure you,
Wait,
we
you
100% wanna."
accidentally ghosted YC. That's so wild.
Yes. So I'll tell you what happened in a second, but, like, I told him I was like, "No, we absolutely wanna do this, there's no question about it."
Yeah,
And then he's like, "Okay, okay. I like you guys, you're in, congratulations," right? We had the call.
yeah.
But, like, it turns out I immediately go, like, to our YCA application, I'm like, "What the hell happened?" And it turns out my co-founder had accidentally flipped 2 of the digits in his phone number. They were reversed. And so I was like, "Oh my god." And so I immediately texted him. I was like, "Hey, just so you know, like, I found the application. Like, here's his real number. Here's the one on the application. Like, he didn't mean to ghost you. Like, he just didn't get the text. It was he put it wrong." But yes, we were all, like, very excited, and that was it was always a very funny story I like to tell.
Make sure that all of your co-founders put in information because every single
Yes.
time it was like one of the co-founders fills the application, the other co-founder is just like sort of going through it. And like it's sometimes like I think we forgot to like even put some information in. Like I think we applied one like the second time we might have applied with the same video that we did the first time. I was like, oh shit, okay.
It's so funny as well because like I was expecting because I applied as like the CEO, and so I was like, oh, they're gonna text me, but they know my co-founder was one that created the application, so you don't know who they're gonna like text or
Right.
reach out to. So
Yeah.
everyone, like, if you're not the CEO, like you still need to be like ready to take that call, ready to take that text or get the email or whatever. Because yeah, you don't want to be the company that just goes YC. If I didn't reply to him that night, I don't know. He might have been like, ah,
Like you were saying, you were playing psychotic games with them. Like you were like, hey, we're the hot
yeah,
shit.
we were we were playing hard to get accidentally. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think like I really love that story because I feel in a way like I was so YC coded, like, hey, I have to get into YC that it kind of just puts like such a weird artificial pressure on you. That it just like ruins the application. Being someone who wasn't in this world and then gets into this world is so much better. Like I've like for me, I had to get out of the world. Like I had to be anti YC to get into YC. But I feel like for you, it's like okay, this is something that is an opportunity that is just like the fact that it is life changing kind of puts that so much pressure on you to
Yeah.
as a founder to rather just be like, hey, I'm gonna give this a try. I honestly feel like those founders do kind of well because like if you put all of your chips in one like basket. Like it's not the best thing to do. So for me, like I was for the longest time, I was like, I'm only gonna quit my job if I get to IC because that's the only thing that can verify that my company will work. And then I was like, no, like you if you are you need to be convinced about the idea, like YC or no YC or any VC for that matter, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you need to have like that conviction in you. And I feel like there's so many things where when people put so much pressure on themselves, they just underperform so significantly. Like even back when I was in college applying to like internships, I remember one of my first interviews, I wanted it so bad. I wanted it like I was like, I need this, I need to do well. And I totally bombed the interview. Like in the interview, I knew there's zero chance. And then the next year, when applying to the same company, I was kind of like, God damn, I don't want to do this interview process again. Like I didn't even care. I was just like, let me just get this over with. And then I did really well on the interview.
Yeah.
And it's because I was just like so much more relaxed and natural and I wasn't trying so hard. And I think they know YC partners know that there's this perception around YC and this aura around it, and that everyone wants to get into YC, and they know that people are willing to say things and act in ways that they think that the partners want to see. So when you do that, it kind of turns them off of like, okay, this is someone clearly trying to just get into YC. They think it's cool. They want the resume, they want to get into they want the funding or something versus someone that's like, oh wow, they're really passionate about their company, they're really smart, they know how to sell, and to someone that's much more authentic and natural.
No, I absolutely agree. In fact, like I feel like even now, that you once you are in YC as well, like I see a lot of folks around me just trying to do some things to like appease the thing. I'm like I my biggest thing is like it's kind of wild. It's kind not great. In fact, like my shit posts get viral and then my actual company posts do nothing. And I'm like everyone's like, why are you doing this? Like this is like you should just focus on the. I'm like if I keep appeasing whatever like someone wants, then it's not the best thing. In fact, with early VCs, right? Like we had a few angels that were like, hey, so anti YC coded that they were like, don't do YC. And then we just did it anyway. And then they were like, yeah, congrats. And I was like, wait, but you were the one who said like, don't do YC. Like it's bad. It's bad. I feel like okay, I wanted to get your opinion on this though, right? In my life, I've always felt like I needed to be try hard to get over it. Have you ever felt this? Like to me, like I'll tell you, when I was a kid, uh, in high school, like I wanted so badly to be part of like, in schools that like in each section that you're in, there is the in group that like those group of like four, three. I'm okay, only talking about male experience, but I'm sure it'll be similar for females. But like, there's that group of 3 to 4 people that like just control the class in a way,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're cool kids. I so wanted to be a part of that group, like so badly. and I, and I was like, okay, I need to do something to appease them, and like I literally like used to hear them and hear like what like jokes they listen to and shit like that. So like like the first time I wrote a joke, right, was, you know, when you pass chits on the classroom, and like I wrote a joke related to chemistry, something about like, you know, covalent bonds, and like you're teenagers, so you can assume where that goes. So I wrote a joke about chemistry, and I passed it to like I passed it around to like the in group, right? I was like, hey guys, like, look at this, I'm funny, take me in, right? And then I remembered the guy came up to me and he was like, dude, like, Mehul, this is okay, but like, you're trying way too hard. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I didn't like that in the slightest. And then over time, like my mom used to think I was the unfunniest piece. I used to be extremely shy, not very talkative in public settings, just kind of minding my own business, right? In fact, like to the point where people, when I was young, my parents took me to the doctor, being like, he doesn't speak. So so you can imagine. I so wanted to prove people wrong that I just did stand-up comedy in a way to like just like say fuck you to everyone, right? Like I'm like, hey, I can do this. I like comedy. I want to do it. And I kept doing it. And a few years later, I think something or the other, I got a message from a person I hadn't talked to in like 8 to 10 years. And he was like, hey, dude, just saw your stand up special on YouTube. I just organically came across it. And I just think it comes so naturally to you. And I was like, that is wild. It's the same guy who said Mehul, stop being so try hard, was like, it comes naturally to you. So like to me, like everything I've done, I needed to go through that try hard phase. I needed to like want to prove to the world that I am the shit. And then after that, the world kicks you back and you're like, you're not. And if you just keep doing it, eventually it like kind of wraps around where you're not trying hard anymore because you are it. You know, I don't know. Have you ever
I,
felt this?
I think I get what you're saying. Like there are certain times where I get so obsessed on something and wanting to achieve one thing specifically, and I will only dedicate my time to doing that thing. And usually, when I am that obsessed and that focused on it, is not when I will achieve that thing.
Exactly.
But once I have gone through that phase and I've essentially gained the experience from it, and then I just stop caring as much.
Yeah.
But I'm still, of course, putting effort forward, but just not the same degree. Then that's when it seems to happen.
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's this weird phenomenon. It's not
I
that
wish
like you
you could
shouldn't
just get to the
try.
final stage. I wish you could just get to the stage of not caring, like, but and it works. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's possible.
No, I think so. I think you have to go through that experience of trying really hard and obsessing on something, at least for a little bit, just so you can gain that experience because it's not that you shouldn't try to anything, but it's
Yeah.
that when you're willing to let go, when you try so hard and then you're willing to let go, that's when it seems to kind of happen.
Yeah, like it's like I feel very I feel try hard to say this, but like I remember I didn't even read the book Alchemist. I read the graphic novel, but in the graphic novel of The Alchemist, like it just when I was a kid when I read it, I was like, that's so stupid. Like, why did he? By the way, have you read it?
I have not read it, no.
Okay, I don't want to spoil it, but like spoiler-free review. When you read the thing, like it just seems dumb the way it ends up, at least like if you're only doing a cursory glance, but it the fact that the alchemist in the story goes through a journey makes it important. Trust, like read it or even look through a Sparks Note version because I will butcher it if I tell you the actual moral. But like it's an amazing story which just leaves you so confused the first time you read it because it's like what why did I even spend time on this? But I think you have to like circle back. You have to just do it.
Yeah. And it's like it's funny because it almost this advice almost in a weird way applies to like investing as well, or at least trying to fundraise for your company. Because if you show up to investment meetings as a startup founder and you act like you really need their money and you just want it so bad, I can absolutely guarantee you they're not giving you a penny. But when you show up to the meeting kind of like, "Yeah, I'm gonna win, like, I don't know what to tell you, like, this company, we're gonna be worth $1 billion. Invest, don't invest, we're gonna close the round either way, I don't really care." Then they're like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
you are the shit, we need to give you our money," and that's when they want to invest.
Yeah, and like I remember because we tried, like we talked to like 40, 50 investors before YC, right? And like I've tried every flavor of talking to an investor now. Uh you can't fake that. You can't fake you it's really hard to fake that you're the shit. Like I remember first we were like, hey, we really need the money. And then over time we were like, hey, money would be nice. And then for some of these meetings, we were like, hey, we don't need your money. And then they can smell the BS. They're like, if you don't need our money, why are you talking to us? Right. So like I feel like now I feel confident enough with the way the product is shaping out and everything that I can truly get to the stage of telling people like, hey, we don't need your money because we actually don't need your money. And that's when they'll invest money. Like it's so stupid, so roundabout, but unfortunately, I wish there was a better way. Like I sincerely I hate like the entire timeline of fundraising, but it is something you play the game of.
Exactly, and it's something that I think YC always encourages you to, like, that's why they always kinda condense the fundraising into the last, like, 1 or 2 weeks of the batch because it is such a waste of time in that there's so many VCs that will just meet with you and meet with you and meet with you and not make a decision, but when how YC does it, when you meet at the end of the batch, there's a timeline. Clock is ticking. You guys gotta make a decision. You don't make a decision, you've missed out on all the hot companies, and then it creates this, like, feeding frenzy of everyone wants to invest really quickly.
Yes. And another big thing I feel like if you are not getting interest in that shortened timeline, then you know that, hey, this is something I need to work on. Like, this is something that's really key to my business that I'm missing an insight on. So, like, that makes sense. Like, if people in a frenzy don't want to invest in you, then there's just like two or three things that you need to change. So, I really like that aspect as well. And I kind of like cools me down a little bit, like being like, hey, I don't need to have the perfect version of my company by demo day. I just need to make sure I'm in the right direction.
Exactly. And okay, last question here. What do you see as your like 10-year out vision for your company?
I think we want to replace the camera. That's my vision. Like truly think that like a lot of us have so many creative ideas that we just want to push out into the world, that we are limited by the skill set that we have, right? Like I need to, if I were to create an animated show, I need an animated artist. I need, if I were to create a live action a movie, I need to hire a director. And yes, all of them are needed, but I think the barrier of entry sometimes becomes the tool itself rather than like a means to an end. So to me, I think we're successful if we give people the option to have a completely new way of creating things. So like, yeah, that's why we're doing it from day zero, but I feel like we'll be very, very successful if by the end of this is like a way to create something. Like you're just talking about your idea. Like think about it. If I have an idea and if I can just visualize it straight up, it's going to be so great. And 10 years from now, 100% will be in 3D if the company continues. So that'll be wild. Like I thought of something and instantly I see it in front of me. Uh, like cutting that barrier between imagination and actually seeing reality, I think will be the best thing we can do for the company.
I love that vision. Just like how a phone has in the past 10, 20 years has given so many people access to being creative, where before it would be like, if you want to make a movie, you would need to go buy a very, very expensive camera and have an expensive computer to edit it on. And now everyone has a phone that is more than capable of making very high quality movies and productions or just having creative outlets. But of course, like for so many things, the barrier of entry is still so high if you want to make things at a really high level of quality, like animation. So I think that is an awesome vision, and I'm really excited to see the future of your company. Thank you so much, Mehul, for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much, Sean. This was a very, very fun chat. I really loved like hearing your side of the stuff, and like it's really nice to know. Like I think people keep mentioning it. Founding a company is such a lonely experience. I'm really glad that we have communities like YC and hopefully more that a people like you want to give spotlight to younger founders. Plus, also, there's so much we learn from each other's experiences that, like, even though you're working on completely different companies, I can come talk to you about, hey, how do I close customers here? How do I do this? So I really, that's the biggest aspect of IC for me.
I completely agree. I think the access to founders and a community of like-minded people is so extraordinarily valuable. Like, yeah, as you said, we're working on companies in totally different areas, but like we can still relate over the same struggles and the same problems and talk to each other and figure out how we can each improve our own companies.
No, absolutely. Awesome.